Okay, we're back on now, but before I go into the second part of the package, I'm going to give you a little background so that you will understand the second part of the package. Now, it is 1 p.m. on the 7th of March, 2013. These are my holy books, right here. The Citizen's Rule Book. Citizen's Rule Book. This is what you should have now. You should have been calling and ordering them already. In this book, America's Last Hope, Our County Sheriff. These two books go hand in hand. I'm going to show you some more of my holy books where I have found out information. This is an excellent book. It's called The U.S. Constitution and Fascinating Facts About It. You learn more about who the people were. They were the people's representatives. They knew the preachers, what they went through. We're going to go into that in another movie. I want to lay a proper foundation so you can understand the spirit of 76 and what took place and why the Treaty of Peace, which has been entered into many, many times, has never been fully concluded, mainly because nobody's paid their debts. And there was a lot of sneaky acts and bogus deals and somebody getting left out all the time and somebody getting beheaded or hung or burned because of what they said. That's all part of God's plan. That was for leading us up to today, so we could look back and see what we should not have done. That's lesson number 1, what you should not have done. Lesson number 2 is what you should do. That's what we're getting to. First, we have to go back and find out what happened and why we are still aggrieved. And it's all because of Article 1, Section 10. Things haven't been completed. See, you haven't gotten past Article 1, Section 9. You're still fighting over slavery, and you're still a slave. It doesn't matter. You just came off the plantation, the private one, got on the federal one. And the only reason is because you won't quit killing each other. You keep killing everybody. Everybody planted their seeds over here. All of them. All the mother countries. All the mother countries. Some people were kidnapped, hijacked, bushwhacked, and captured and brought here. But this is the place of the new world. We're going to start acting like a new world. Now, we're going to get into some paperwork that's not in your packages, but I have to lay a proper foundation. Everything that I have done in my entire life has led up to today. I have to get over a little stage fright. That's all. Now, a couple of things for those of you that know how to do legal research. This is a little helper thing is I get all these quick study law, these little bar charts. These little bar charts, you know, they tell you this one happens to be legal writing, which I can't really write right now because I don't have any ink. I don't have any ink, and I'm not going to write it all out by hand. I already did that. I already did that several times. I'm not doing it again. I've written all the words I'm going to write. I'm going to write a couple more when the Lord brings me some ink, or maybe it'll be a quill and ink. It's only going to be a cease and desist order. I'm going to tell you that right now. And the value of my estate from Michael Evanoff, my second husband. Yes, I get to set the value of his estate. And guess what? He was a reservist. During the Vietnam War, he was in the Navy. Okay. And his daddy, my father-in-law, he was on the beaches of Iwo Jima. And what you don't understand is a lot of the drinking problems that we have and a lot of the drug problems is because they can't face what they had to do, what your politics made them do. Now Rome is through killing. We're not killing anymore for your politics. Founding Fathers set up a way where you could be civil and act like kings and queens and negotiate like royalty does. They negotiate now. They don't make people marry other people. Yes, they are selective. Parents do like to select because they know you better than you know you. And your mother knows you better than anybody because you came out of your mother's body. So you might think you're smart, but you're not. You're not. And you're not going to outsmart your grandma or your great-grandma because they lived through a few generations more than you. So another one that I have, I went and bought up all the bar charts because I like to have shortcuts. I don't have time. I don't even have a law library. I feel lost. I have no classical music. I have no law library. I have no ink. I have everything to heal this planet. I don't even have wood. I'd like to have some W-O-U-L-D wood. Would you please pay attention before it's too late? We're living in Revelations right now. I had a ghost dance. I don't have to go outside to ghost dance, honey. I know what they were doing. I knew right away they were receiving the Holy Ghost. I got the Holy Ghost living in me. And all the ancestors are around me. They're showing me everything through the words. Through the internet. You do the right searches. Your ancestors will lead you to the estate too. And the estate is what we're talking about. That the meek shall inherit the earth. The meek. Now this is something that I printed out quite some time ago. And I have another one that I actually even dated and signed. And if anybody wants to check it with the carbon dating, they can go right ahead because I'm not lying about anything that I do or say here. If I make a mistake on something, the Lord will let me know. Or one of you, it'll come through you, you'll let me know, and then I will correct it. That's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to argue about being wrong. No, you're supposed to say, thank you for pointing that out. Now let's get on with it. Okay, this is a history of Orange County, Virginia by W. Scott. 2 W's. See, double U. That's 2 U's. But it looks like 2 B's. From its formation in 1734 to the end of Reconstruction in 1870. It didn't end there, honey. They've still been reconstructed. Okay? Compiled mainly from original records with a brief sketch of the beginnings of Virginia, a summary of local events to a 1907, and a map by W. Scott. Explanations now. See, you have to find out when you look at some of these old records and you look in there on the way words are spelled, especially in the preamble to the Constitution. Defense is spelled with a C, not an S. Has a different meaning than the S. Somebody changed it. Okay? Different meaning. As sundry archaic terms are unavoidably employed in this work, the following definitions are deemed necessary. Now, in parentheses is the word style. The old style prevailed when the country was formed, and until 1752, when the year began March 25th. January, February, and March up to the 25th, constituting the last 3 instead of the first 3 months of the year. Now this is important. You got 3 months missing. The change of style consisted in dating the year from January 1st instead of March 25th, and the addition of 11 days was a mere incident. Tithable. Remember, in the first package was the Tithe Act. Tithables. Remember that? For many years, taxes were levied only on persons, not on property, and a tithable, generally speaking, was such a person as was subject to taxation. Usually, all male persons 16 years of age and servants of that age of both sexes. The seating of Virginia. A brief sketch of the beginnings of Virginia seems a necessary introduction to a history of Orange. For though this history will be mainly confined to the present narrow limits of the county, it ought to be known to those who may read it that Orange was once a principality in extent, embracing in her limits 5 prosperous states of the Union and parts of 2 others. Now, did you hear that? Orange County. All of North America between Florida and Nova Scotia was known as Virginia for a number of years. Queen Elizabeth, having been so charmed by Sir Walter Raleigh, his sea captain's accounts of the coasts of the Carolinas in 1585, that she named the country Virginia in honor of herself, the Virgin Queen. Unfortunately, all of Raleigh's attempts to found a colony on these shores failed, and the unknown fate of the one at Roanoke Island, North Carolina, remains a pathetic mystery. I think I could solve that mystery. It was not until 1607, in the reign of James I, that a settlement was made in Virginia proper. The charter of the 1606 to the Virginia Company of London granted the right to found a colony 100 miles square anywhere between the 34th and 41st degrees of north latitude. That is, between the mouths of Cape Fear River in North Carolina and Hudson River in New York, and to the Virginia Company of Plymouth. A similar right between the 38th and 45th to the Virginia Company of Plymouth. A similar right, oops, I read that twice, sorry. Well, I guess maybe the Lord wants you to hear it twice. A similar right between the 38th and the 45th degrees that is, between the Potomac River and Nova Scotia. Either company might occupy in the overlapping region, but neither should make a settlement within 100 miles of each other. Under this charter, Jamestown was founded May 13, 1607, by the Virginia Company of London. A second charter was granted. This company in 1609, by the terms of which the boundaries of the colony were extended along the coast 200 miles north and south from Point Comfort and up into the land throughout from sea to sea, west and northwest, and also all the islands lying within 100 miles along the coast of both seas. I love the island properties. Catalina especially. Always wanted my own private island. I think I have several. Of course, these boundaries were never actually attained. Oh, till now. From sea to sea must have meant from the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean, and the line projected west and northwest embraced nearly all of the Great Lakes and the states of Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, and Wisconsin, where my Grandma Thompson was born, and a part of Minnesota. That's where Michael Avenel was born. I believe it was Hennepin County. To this latter part, known subsequently as the Northwest Territory, Virginia claimed title under the charter. She also acquired title to it later by conquest of her own soldiers under George Rogers Clark. Lewis and Clark ring a bell? Under orders from Patrick Henry. Oh, he was a defender at Lewis Craig's trial. Remember? Page 15, Citizens Rule Book. They don't mention Lewis Craig, but I know, 'cause it's in the digital archives. The then governor during the Revolutionary War. But to quiet dissension, she ceded it to the federal government in 1784, only reserving land therein sufficient to fulfill her promise of land grants to her soldiers in the Revolutionary and the Indian Wars. It was probably all of 100 years from the settlement at Jamestown before a white man, unless simply as a hunter or Indian trader, set his foot anywhere in Orange. The movement toward the frontiers was very slow, and almost exclusively along the main watercourses. In Colonel Byrd's famous Westover manuscripts are published the depositions of Francis Thornton and John Taliaferro. Culliver Crag, ring a bell. Robert Taliaferro, Hawkins, they were all together. Thornton deposed that in 1703 there were but 2 settlements above his house on the lower side of Snow Creek, which is about 15 miles below Fredericksburg, the uppermost of which was about 4 miles below the falls, that is Falmouth, whatever, looks like Falmouth to me. Taliaferro that in 1707 there were but 3 settlements above his house on Snow Creek, on the south side of the Rappahannock. Hear that rapping knocking on your door? Indeed, the settlement at Jamestown languished till towards 1620, though soon afterwards the colony began to grow and prosper. In 1622, the population numbered 4,000 persons, and though from 1 hog to 16 after John Smith's return to England, there had been a period known as the Starving Time, when many people were famishing or barely subsisting on roots, herbs, acorns, berries, walnuts, and even on skins of snakes. In 1622 there was a great abundance of grain, fruit, and vegetables. Wine and silk were made in considerable quantities. 60,000 pounds of tobacco was grown, and cattle had increased rapidly. Women were imported and sold to the colonists, and the price of a wife rose from 120 to 150 pounds of tobacco. Buy yourself a wife with 150 pounds of tobacco. How many packs of cigarettes you think that is? In that year, 1622, occurred the Great Massacre, incited by Opechancanough, when hundreds of men, women, and children were treacherously slain, and all the cattle were driven off.